I'm Shahana. I grew up in Kensington and this is my home. I was thinking they're gonna come over and it's gonna be something like MTV Cribs, except I live in a working class community and I'm not a celebrity and I don't have a celebrity home. There's tons of greenery here and it's mostly a lot of farm work by so many Bangladeshis who dedicate their summer months to making sure that they are eating fresh vegetables. And so I'm so happy that my parents spent so much time cultivating, Tita Carla, which is bitter gourd, for us during the summer months, and tomatoes and cucumbers. That's the masjid that I spent many of my early childhood years in, Baitul Jannah Jame Masjid, and the one we passed on the street across from my house, Darul Jannah Masjid, is also one of my childhood masjids. And what I love about both of our mosques, and there are 3 other mosques in the walking vicinity, is that they're all either they were homes or they're part of an apartment building. And I feel like I'm not sure if that exists anywhere else, where the mosque is the house, and it literally is a house, right? Our mosques are our safe houses. But my only thing is, it's not something I go to anymore because there's no real women's spaces in these masjid, and it's kind of a shame. But I mean, I think there might be, because there's some leadership being cultivated in the community to ensure that that happens. And I mean, I know I'm fighting towards it. I'm an activist, and a lot of my issues revolve around women's empowerment and ensuring that women are included in spaces where they feel safe. And I think as a Bangladeshi Muslim, I feel safe, or I want to feel safe in a mosque. People from Chittagong, Bangladesh have come together to ensure that they have a support system, a network of people to sort of fall back on if anything happens. And once again, it's a fraternity of men. But growing up, I've seen my mom's involvement, whether it was doing outreach, calling out her friends, or making sure that my sisters and I were coming to these events. And though we hated coming to these events because they had nothing to do about youth or really about things that we cared about, I think it was a foundation. These association events, cultural parties, etc. were the beginnings of my activism. So I was diagnosed at 17, and prior to that hadn't really seen myself as having addressed those questions about disability or women's empowerment in those spaces. After getting diagnosed with lupus, sort of just became more curious, because initially the diagnosis, had put me in the hospital for a course of 2 months, even longer, and I was in and out. But the initial process was, being bedridden in an ICU, in the intensive care unit bed, and it's a small room. It feels like solitary confinement in many ways, and my body was sort of like, attached to so many machines around me that I had no sort of control over my body at that point. And with the treatment and the regimen of medicines, I became immobile. To leave the bed, I needed support. And because I was on the bed for so long, that also took a toll on my body. But then the medicines I was on, it put me through weight gain. I had hair loss because of a chemo treatment, so lupus is degenerative and also not curable. It's only treated through experimental medication. So there I was someone's experiment. I was the doctor's, like, sort of like they had to see what would work, what wouldn't work. And, you know, hair loss, weight gain, inability to really like openly share my feelings, because prior to that I knew no one in this community who is a disabled young person or who has chronic illness and is talking about it. I had one other reference of a young girl named Chandni who died of cancer. And that was the extent of that, right? So I don't know like what her day-to-day was. I wasn't, you know, as close to know those things or, you know the trajectory of her illness, her disability, whatever else. And so that to me was one, like, okay, where are all the stories of young Muslim women, young Bangladeshi women who, or just stories of women who are met with chronic illness. There was the Make-A-Wish Foundation. They came to visit me and they were like, you know, we grant sick people or sick kids with a wish. What's your wish? And honestly, my wish was to get into Colombia, and they were like, we can't do that. And I was like, So I don't really have any other wish. But like they gave me some examples. They're like, you could see a celebrity, and I was thinking like, the only celebrity I'd want to see is like from Bollywood, and like it just seemed really far-fetched. Like it, so I just did a shopping spree and like got a bunch of coats and stuff, and it was fun for me and my mom. But like, you know, there's some perks in being a sick person, but like at the end of it, you know, I came out of it as someone who was very reflective about how do I transform what I'm going through, how do I make sure that I survive here, and how do I make sure that the people I live with and, you know, the place I call home supports me and supports others like me. दिल में मगर चलते रहे चाहत के